Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now it is time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, Victoria.
Oh, it reminds me of home. My name is Victoria and I'm an alcoholic. I'm sober by the grace of God and the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous. I want to thank Alan for asking me to come out and participate in recovery. He left me a message this week and to remind me that I was speaking, and I'm glad he did. But he said nothing about his wedding, and which is so sweet. He was more concerned, you know, me being, and he said he'd buy the tape or whatever later. But I feel honestly like we could all go home, because this one here with the first share is like, I don't know what else there needs to be said really about Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to say that's going to give you more than that. You touched my heart, and you completely reminded me of the point and the purpose. And your buddy who came to visit you, you know, I didn't visit my friend who was in prison because he was kind of far away, and I had so many that I just couldn't split atoms. But I did write him dirty letters for 3 years under an alias. And he said they kept him going. So I happen, you know, I always have to preface by saying that I'm one of the geek and the cornballs who love Alcoholics Anonymous. I have no shame in my game. I really love this place. I want to thank Alcoholics Anonymous for a point and a purpose. The point is to grow along spiritual line. The purpose is to help another alcoholic to stay sober. The point is to align my will with God's intention for me. That's the point. If you're confused about Alcoholics Anonymous and you don't know what this is about, just read chapter 5. That's just it. I mean, how it works. How it works. You know, how does this work? How does it work? How does it work? How it works. They put it right there. They didn't say something about this other thing that's might, kind of, could, maybe, want to, maybe happen. It was like, how it works. And I need things like that. Like, I need kindergarten mentality, even though I think I have a PhD in living. You know, I think that I can go above anyone, and don't ever dare get into like a literal thing with me. Oh my God. I mean, I was in some shit. First, I have to welcome the New York contingency here. It reminds me of home. I just got back a few days ago, and I was there for almost 2 months, and it's nice to come back and have all these New Yorkers. Happy birthday to the birthday people. Welcome if you're new. If you're new, my wish for you is that you're done. My wish for you is that you ache and you're bleeding from your ass and your ears. My ache for you is that you have no friends left, that you have no one to call and you have no one to turn to. My ache for you is that your parents will not take your shit and give you any more money or any more love. My wish for you is that your dope dealer doesn't want to sell you anything else anymore. My wish for you is that you're sitting on your hands in your chair because you don't know whether you're going to claw out your eyeballs or punch the person sitting next to you. My wish for you is that your feet are crossed because you don't know whether you're going to run or kick the chair in front of you 42 times just for the fuck of it. My wish for you is that you're at the bottom. And from that place, I invite you to pray to stay there and go further and go further. And for however bad it feels, my wish for you is that you beg to go to the bottom of what it feels like right now so that you don't have to come back. It's my experience that when I cheat and I kind of just play a toe dance with whatever's going on with me, which is just a lesson to grow, which is a lesson to break my ego, which is a lesson to just make you more important than me. It's been my experience that when I cut and dovetail and I do things, even in recovery, to get a little high or a little buzz, or a little fix, or a little escape, I just come right back there. So if I can offer you anything with 13 and a half years to the day, smack dab on the day, I'm 13 and a half years, and it is not wasted on me, and it is not light. And I do not take it small. And when I woke up this morning, it was as big a deal as when I had 1 hour. So, the New Yorkers. I'm a scrambled thinker and I'm a scrambled liver, and I have no possible form of straight ahead. I go around poles and I go under chairs and I climb over ceilings. And someone told me recently, if I hit a wall in life or and something comes up and I hit a barrier, he said to me, Victoria, if you hit a wall, instead of climbing and fighting and bashing your head on it, what would happen if you laid down and just rolled under it? And I thought that that was pretty cool and a new way of thinking. I don't know how to do that, but I like the thought. You know, how did I stay sober for 13 years, 13 and a half years, me personally? And if you ever go to a meeting and you hear someone speak and they're like, I don't know how I stayed sober, you should run the other way. You thank them like you're taught to do, because they came out and they took time out of their day and their life to come, and they're doing the best they can, and right on and right on. But I want to advise you to go find a person who knows exactly how they stayed sober to help you stay sober. So how I stayed sober is that I came in and I didn't take anything for granted. I didn't take it for granted that they said that I needed a commitment. I thought I was going to drop dead. Like I was like a little kid walking on the cracks. You know, if you step on a crack, you break your mother's back. And I thought that about AA when I came in. I thought that if I didn't get a commitment, I'd drop dead right that minute. I don't know why. I just thought I would. When they said I had to get a sponsor, I thought that like lightning was going to strike me out of the sky, and it was absolutely crucial in that moment. So I just looked at the person standing next to me and was like, what are you? And they were like, what do you mean? I said, are you a sponsor? And they're like, I sponsor you. I was like, okay, can you sponsor me? And I didn't know, I didn't like her. I didn't care less. I didn't know what she did. I didn't know her name. I didn't give a shit. I was just like, something, I don't know. I didn't even know what it meant to have a sponsor, you know. I just thought they said this and whatever. And so they told me about how many meetings I needed to go to, and I doubled up on that. They told me I needed 90 meetings in 90 days. I went to like 600 and something in the first year. They told me that I need to have a commitment at each of my primary meetings, which, you know, they meant one home group, and I didn't know which one was my primary meeting, so I got like 5 in the 7 to 9 meetings that I went to weekly. I never talked to anyone in my first year. I kept my head down. I got commitments that didn't involve interaction with other people at all. At all. And I used to mop, and I'd listen to what people were saying, and I'd comment back on what they were saying so that I could pretend I was in their conversation. And, and that was the best I could do, and that was good and right on. And a lot of times I said shit that I shouldn't say out loud anyway, so I had to learn how to integrate myself. You know, I had to learn how to say, how are you, when people said hello, and I had to learn how to say, how's it going, and I had to learn how to wait for the answer and the response without thinking about what I wanted to say next, you know. What kept me going also, just basically and quickly for the new person, is that they told me that if I was outside talking to someone during the meeting, I was helping to kill them. They told me that I had to get to the meeting early and I had to leave late. They told me that in the break I went to talk to a newcomer girl, that I didn't go outside chasing some dude for a date later that night or that week. They told me that I was to go read the big book whenever I was bored, which was all the time. They told me that I had to read the big book and underline it. I had to go through it once and underline everything I liked. Then I had to read the big book and underline everything I didn't like. Then I had to read the big book and underline the things that made me curious or I didn't understand. So I read that big book so many goddamn times in the beginning, but you know what? If you had asked me in that time frame what was in it, I would just been like, because nothing really got in. I was a sponge and I was a wall. I was just like, you know, it was cork. My brain was like cork when nothing could saturate, and then I was like a sponge and that everything was getting in. And then one day around 3.5 years, I came to, and I was just like this Bible of knowledge. And it's funny about sharing also, because in the beginning of my recovery, you know, it's like we're so self-obsessed. I started sharing when I was 4 months, and I got tricked into it. I had a commitment. They asked me to go, and I went to one of those panel things, and I didn't know anything. I would love to meet one of the people who were in that meeting to you know, because I know I was a little angry. So I'd be so curious what my message was. But I think that my first like year of sharing was just curses. And then, you know, then I went through a stage where it was like I was a little bit concerned, and I wanted to get it right. Then I went through this stage of where I could say anything out of the book. I could quote numbers and pages, and I could paraphrase, and I could tell you where you were wrong and what was right, and I had the AA pitch. Then I went through a stage where I had the balance of, you know, like between 9 and 12, somewhere in there, I had the balance of this pitch that this share that was a little bit of, you know, the right amount of heart and the right amount of AA and knowledge and wisdom and science. And it was the perfect pitch. And then I went to a few funerals of friends of mine who had the perfect pitch. And I thought, that's not working. That thing about looking good in Alcoholics Anonymous, the place where I'm dying, the place I came because I'm dying, the place I came because I do not know how to fucking live, the place I come to because my ass is always falling off. It didn't stop. It hasn't stopped. And I never know what to do. I haven't found the answers. You know, I learned a few simple suggestions, and those few simple suggestions have carried me through correct behavior with other human beings on the planet without harming myself or them. But depending on how much I eat in a certain day, how much I sleep, how many meetings I go to, how many people I'm helping, how many times I've answered my phone that day, that minute, that week, or that hour, or how many times I've like gone into some other shit I don't need to be in, I go right back to what I was like the day before I walked into AA. Not like my first year, but the day before I came in, which is useless and self-centered and self-obsessed and frightened and malevolent. I mean, like, I had the joy of hate. I would do shit just to make people miserable. And that brought me great pleasure. I mean, it really did. And it was the only pleasure I had known my whole life. I saw it in my household. It was like, what do you do? I heard, ah! You know, like just fucking, I knew how to use words, so I'd like hit people. They'd hit them like between here, here, and here. And they'd go down in this way that was like convulsing. And it made me so happy, you know, because I would be distracted for a few seconds about what it felt like to be me. And then I learned how to do that passively, you know, in recovery. And that's where it starts to get dangerous. The price to pay for all of my unprogressive behavior is too much now. That's what I have to offer you with 13 and a half years of recovery, is that I could do whatever I want. I could leave this meeting and go sleep with a newcomer. I'm not. and I haven't. And that's not because I'm proud or because I'm educated or because, you know, educated in AA or because I'm spiritual or wise. I just knew that if someone had slept with me early on that had a lot of time, they really would have taken a piece of me that I needed in AA to grow, that I needed in AA to function, that I needed in AA to trust, that I needed in Alcoholics Anonymous to feel safe. They would have taken that piece from me. And that's the only reason I've avoided my own selfish wants. But, and then also newcomers steal from you. You know, so, you know, I would, you know, I stole anything that wasn't locked down. I'd steal from you while I was making out. I'd have your shit in my fucking pocket, like while you were still begging your love from me. You know, what I had to do in my recovery is I had to change things that were just like gobbly goop. Like, you know, when they read chapter 5 up here, for me it was like I didn't know what the hell, and I was off into, I can't be alone for too long without some kind of interaction. And so when people read words, they just sound like blah, 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 blah. So I have to personally repeat everything that anyone says whenever they read the chapter 5. At every meeting that I go to, I have to repeat every word they say. And I stay in my seat, and I stay in my mind, I stay in my body, and I stay in my experience. I stay right in my chair, and I stay with that person. I had to change some of the things in the prayers, like, you know, the Serenity Prayer is a great prayer. But I started to say that so much, you know, now 13 and a half years is like, it just becomes regurgitation. And I had to keep it fresh and new for me. And so what I did was I went to the book, and the book says straight out, we pause, we ask for quiet, and then we proceed. Dear God, please grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. What does that mean, the things I cannot change? Usually it's the outcome. So I had to fill that in. The thing I cannot change is the outcome of any event or anyone's choice. And the wisdom to know the difference and blah, blah, blah. Everything else is what I can change is my behavior in between. My actions, my deeds, my thoughts, and my words throughout. That's it. And, you know, for the 7-step prayer, when it says good and bad, remove from me every single defect, the good and bad. It was like, well, what's good and what's bad? I don't know what's good and bad. I mean, I do things and it feels really, really good, and I find out it's really bad. And then I do things that feel bad. I just hate them, and they're so good and productive. So I have no barometer for good and bad. I'm not allowed to decide for myself or for anyone else what's good or bad. So I had to add, when I say, good, I had to add the word productive. And when it's, where in the prayer where it says bad, I had to add the word destructive. And I can associate with that. I can have a personal experience, and I know when I'm doing something out in the world in the day that this is productive or this is destructive. But good and bad, I don't know. So I invite you to find definitions for the words that you hear over and over and over again. I started a step study meeting in my house with my sponsees where we went through chapter by chapter. We're going through the 12 and 12, and we take chapter, just one paragraph at a time each week, and we go through the definitions, and for words we know or don't know or confused by, we get a dictionary, we sit, and we just talk about the principle of that paragraph within that step. And that's what keeps me sober today, 13 and a half years. I still have to go to as many meetings. I still have to be as active. I still have to be completely out of myself with the exact same fever as when I was new. It's tricky to tell my story because it feels like so many people have said it, and I kind of feel like I've heard it so many times. But, in a nutshell, I was born in New York, obviously. And my parents had a lot of money, and then they didn't. It was a great mystery why they didn't. We think it had something to do with the fluid in the glass, but we weren't sure. And my father threw knives at my mother's head and things like that. And he loved her to death, and he loved her till he died. It was really crazy. Most of my using in my early day I thought had something to do with melanin because it was like, people pointed that out to me. I had no idea. My niece just now back home, she drew a picture of her and I, and we're not the same color. And she drew this picture where we're the same color, and it's so sweet right there. And she wrote this thing that I think is really funny. It's all of life. It says on the drawing, she's 6 years old, she wrote, "I love you." All right, period. You are nice to me. And I think, isn't that it? Like, isn't that just it? I love you because you're nice to me. You're not mean, you're not anything, you just let me be. You leave me alone, you don't harm, you don't, I'm in a place right now that's so tricky because I just did something that's so challenging, and it's not over, and I leave in a few days to go finish it. And, what I want to talk about mostly, there are these great barriers that exist for whatever reason through conditioning. I came up in a household and in a neighborhood and an environment that wasn't entirely supportive of whatever the individual wished for. It was a place where people were very good at squashing. It was a place where people said you can't and you won't and you shouldn't and why bother. And somehow, only in Alcoholics Anonymous, I have found a way to actually get rid of that conditioning and get into, bless you, productivity. And what productivity means for me is that, it isn't just I pay my taxes. It's this, really, really sort of airy-fairy thing about, it comes back to this question I had in 3rd grade of, why am I here? Like, what really is it? I was driving in my car on Super Bowl Sunday from my best friend's house, and really, there's nothing wrong in my life. I have no drama. I have no struggles. I could pick shit and I could create it, but one of my greatest addictions was to pain and to drama. And so I had to work that out. And so right now, I don't really have any, I don't let things weigh on me. I don't carry them with me. I do a lot of work. So I'm driving in the car and it's beautiful out, and I was with my friends that I love, and it was a beautiful day, and I'm driving on the freeway and I'm doing about 60 miles in the far left lane, which I think is legal because I think it's 65, right? And I have been through a long, long, long stage of doing about 110 on the freeway. So I'm doing 60 and I'm driving home and everything's quiet and everything's right with the world. And within a second, the tire blows out, the left tire on the rear of my truck. And I'm going a nice clip for the back tire to blow out. I'm heading east on the freeway. the car spins and I start heading west on an eastbound freeway, and I'm watching all the people, hundreds of people that are coming home from Super Bowl Sundays at their friends' houses, I imagine, coming head on at me through the windshield passenger window. And I see the cars coming at me and the lights and the honking and the horns and everything, and it goes silent. And it's really wild because I think it was only maybe a few seconds, it could only be. And it felt like everyone says, all the phrases, you know, it was long. And I looked up and I was heading towards a 12-foot cinder block retaining wall. And what happened that's interesting is my life flashed before my eyes. And when I was like 7 or 8 years old, someone put a gun to my head and was going to kill me because I was in the wrong place, the wrong color. And I know what it's like to almost die. That's only one, but that was my first one, and that's a distinct memory. And the thing about the life flashing before your eyes, it was usually people and events or things that I love or whatever. This day, this moment in the car, what happened was everything that I wished to do flew past my eyes. You know, all the things that I haven't done because I'm afraid, all the things that I avoid because I'm safe. And it was really tricky, and I just, you know, I hear the cars and everything's going, and I look up at the cinder block wall and I see exactly how it's going to go down. I see the impact of the car, I see my body embrace, I see the ambulance, the whole thing plays out. And I stop and I take a breath somewhere in the middle of just sliding like I'm on ice skates in a huge truck towards this wall. I say, no, I don't agree. And I start praying, and I just start praying, and I am so calm. And I am so at ease, it's ridiculous. I mean, I waited my whole life for that feeling, and it's bizarre that it's happening there. And somehow, out of nowhere, just sitting there in prayer, I mean, I did not freak at all. I just was okay. If I hit that wall, I was okay. If I didn't hit I didn't know how I wasn't gonna hit the wall, but I just was so calm. The car, out of nowhere, starts to turn, slides, and lands perfectly aligned with the wall, just a hair away, and all the other cars go whipping by me. There's not one accident. I don't dent or scratch my car at all. I mean, it was freaky. And the odd thing is, the whole time that that's happening, I don't know what's happening. You know, I hear loud sounds and I think it's a gunshot. So I didn't know what was going on. So I after a while, you know, I get out of the car and I go around and I'm looking to see, and I can't see, then I see it. And, you know, when I went home, I called a dear friend of mine, Alan, and I got to my house and I was fine. And then I got to the house, and when I heard his voice, I started to cry and I started to shake. And I got, you know, how clear it was, and what you know, that the story would have been different. And so what's tricky now is I don't have a great AA pitch. I don't have a great story for you. I don't have entertainment. I know where you could find some down at the Grove. I know where you could find some at a nightclub. I know where you could find it. When they told me to come here, they told me to share experience, strength, and hope. I'm so glad they said experience, strength, and hope, because, you know, the idea of experience is that I talk about what it's like for me, not what I think, not a theory. I'm so grateful they said strength and not weakness, because could you imagine what AA would be like if we were all up here sharing our weaknesses? I'm so grateful that they included hope, because without hope I don't get the point and the purpose. So the hope is that if I continue to do the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm able to have moments without alcoholic insanity that keeps me cut off from you. That's the hope. That's the hope. My experience is that I am put in positions all the time where I genuinely care about the person who's standing across from me in a way that I never used to and never thought I could. So, you know, what I have to share with you tonight is really quiet. I don't have a loud, booming message. It's just that I never thought that I could ever, 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 ever have compassion. And I find myself on a day-to-day basis where things occur with people that I love, and it aches in the exact same way that it aches for them. That's what I have to share with you, is that the people around me, when they bleed, I bleed. Before, I kept my life in such a structured way that it was impossible to feel. I had a calcified heart, and I did things on purpose to keep this valve closed. And so now here I am, 13 and a half years sober. And what's the dance? Why do people stand on chairs with years of recovery? Because there's something inside that they can't shift. There's a pact that was made at some point that can't be undone. They can't live with the experience of knowing what it takes to stay sober and a life that is wide open, and having the same amount of recovery with a portion of them closed. And the only time that I've ever felt like I was going to go crazy in AA is because I was doing shit that I didn't want to do anymore. And I really, really, this dude, are you doing air traffic control signals? It's, I don't know, I think he's doing a dance, modern ballet, man. What are you doing? Okay. It's very nice, very lovely. So I'm easily distracted, you see. I mean, I get. So what the hell? So today, what's today? Today is like, there's something that I've wanted to do my whole life. When I was a little kid, I used to sneak into this place, and all the other kids were out playing, and I'd go into this place, and I'd hang out, and I would stare, and I'd observe, and I'd make mental notes, and I'd absorb everything that was happening. And I knew that this was a place that I had something to share. But I went about doing all kinds of destructive things, and no one ever said to me, what do you want to do, and what do you have to offer, and what, you need a little help? And so years later now I come into AA, and in my 13 and a half years of recovery, I put aside certain behavior, like I said, that was destructive, but I really kind of went towards this quiet thing that I had that I always wanted to know if I could do. And so now, I leave in a few days to go off and do this thing that I've always wanted to do ever since I was a kid. A few people got picked to do it, and I'm so humbled by the entire thing. It's like a really, really, really weird time. That's why it's also weird to come speak, because I am so in a state of grace, I don't have anything flashy. I walk around the streets and I move through the day, and there's this bizarre feeling like, when you're walking around and I'm in crowds of people, and I have this feeling of like, I want to scream out loud that I didn't quit, I didn't run, I didn't hide, I didn't sabotage, I didn't fuck it up, I didn't procrastinate, I didn't make excuses, I just kept showing up. And so now what's fascinating is I have to get on this plane at 6 a.m. on Monday morning. And what happens when you keep showing up is that you have to show up. And, now I'm really scared. I did all the homework, I've done all the preparation, and now I go, and I am so frightened in a really healthy way. And, I don't have any buffers, I don't have any pills or dope, I don't have any people, I don't have any I don't have any shit to put in me to numb it down a little bit. And, that's what the most that I could offer you, really, if you're new, is that there's proof of getting through awkward moments, there's proof of getting through beautiful moments, there's proof of getting through painful moments without anything, without substance, without, acting out, without doing something to get high and escape what it feels like to just be in the human condition. I'm so grateful that I had people in my recovery who were very clear and precise about the human condition. And I would call thinking that I was exceptional. There's nothing exceptional about me. I have a story that my father died on my birthday, the day that he was walking to come visit me. And it's not exceptional. What I did with that moment is what's exceptional. That I didn't start tearing apart the hospital, that I didn't walk out and leave my mother while she was hunched over his body, that I didn't call my sister's names because she didn't do the walk a different way with him, that I didn't go and take a lead pipe to the ambulance workers because I thought for some reason that they did something in the ambulance and he could have lived. That I didn't have a drink after that. That's what's exceptional. That for me, an alcoholic, the way that I used, my whole life is like, I want a little bit of tequila all the time. I just want like a little bit. And then I want a 50-gallon ton of vodka as a back. That's what I want all the time. I don't want a line of Coke. I want a field. I want an endless field. I don't have any fantasies or delusions about, like, I can take a tip off of a joint and I'll be all right. I want a joint laced with LSD. You know, someone gave me a bottle of vodka and one of those little travel things in this event in New York, and I was sitting in the room and I didn't know, and I emptied the bag, and I was at my house, and then I take it out and I saw this bottle of vodka, and it was so bizarre because I, you know, for 5 seconds I thought of drinking it, and I don't want it, but I want it. I always want it. I always want something. I always want a drink. I always want a drink. I don't never not want a drink. And if you're new and you come in here and people freak out because you shared that you wanted something to drink this morning, you know, just say a little prayer for them. I don't know where you're supposed to go to say that. I don't know what the hell Alcoholics Anonymous is this for if it's not the place that you come in and say, I thought about drinking on the whole drive here. You know? I didn't today, but I mean, I have had those moments. And I don't know what, when people say, you know, I felt suicidal, and everyone's like, oh, God, something's wrong with them. It's like, what are you talking about? What did you use? You didn't use suicidally? It's like, it's just, that's like a word that what? If I want to take a gun to my head, that's different from the amount that I drank or the amount that I shot or whatever else. Is like, oh, we come in AA, and if you think about putting a rope around your neck and jumping off a chair, you're fucked up. But if you used in a way that almost got you near death, that's okay. That's PC. Or that's chic. If you almost OD'd with a needle in your arm in some shit shack somewhere, that's chic. But God forbid you have a moment in Alcoholics Anonymous when you have nothing to use to sedate the human experience, when you haven't been taught any tools whatsoever for living and coping. God forbid you think about shutting the thing off. And for me, it's never been like I want to die, really. I just want the fucking thing to shut up. And mine isn't like a voice. Mine is like, you know, even the thing that I worked on is like, okay, so did you do that? Did you fix that? Well, yeah, I fixed that. But when you fixed that, did you fix that other thing? Shut up. She said that she fixed it. Well, but did she fix the thing over there? You know, you shouldn't yell like this. And then it keeps going and going and going and going. And it's like, and then there are more, then there are more. And it doubles and triples and quadruples. It's ridiculous. And so people see me walking down the street like that, and they're like, I saw you. You look like you're in a cloud. It's like, in a fog. It's like, yeah, I'm in a fog. I'm in a fog. And then, you know, what has to happen now is that I have to address, why do I do that? Why do I keep 15,000 conversations going on in my head when I'm sitting in a meeting at the break and I could talk to human beings that are standing in the room? Why is it that I could be making love with someone and thinking about some other person? Why is it that when I'm having a conversation with my boss, I'm thinking about some other job or place I could be? Why is it that when I'm talking with my mother, I wish that she was another mother and would say something else? What is that? You know, except that I always want to escape my experience because my experience isn't the thing that they said I was supposed to have. They gave me this piece of paper when I was a little kid and it said perfect life. Well, I went to check my shit in and I didn't get a perfect life. I got all kinds of madness and lunacy. I got parents that checked out and left me when I was 9 years old, and I've been fending for myself since I was 9 years old. My mother walked out of the kitchen of my house, took off, went 2 towns away, and didn't come back for a year. We had no idea where she was and whether she was coming back. And whatever I needed to eat, I had to find it. Whatever I needed for school, I had to get it. And so I started doing whatever I had to do, dope dealing early on and blah, 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 blah. And you know, and the thing of stealing and on and on and on. And you know, my way of getting attention in the world, because I felt so unacknowledged and unseen, which is this great quote that a friend of mine said, is beware the unloved. Like, you look around the world and you see shit on a day-to-day basis, and what people are doing, it's like, beware the unloved. And I used to do things just so that my friend and I were talking the other day about dropping pennies out of buildings in Manhattan and dropping toilet paper, wet tissue on people's head and stuff. You know, it was like the most interaction that you could get. Like, I used to walk down the street cursing at people just because I wanted them to look back and say something and acknowledge me, because people used to just walk right by me. I used to throw bricks off of the freeway onto oncoming traffic because I wanted just another interaction with another human being. I didn't know how else to get it. I had no idea. And so someone chasing me on foot was pleasurable. Me running for my life, it was like, I'm interacting. You know, it's like, somebody sees me, you know? And I didn't care. I didn't care how it came down, you know? Someone standing over me, you know, the thing of boyfriend standing over me screaming at the top of their lungs, you love me. You wouldn't be screaming like that, you know? So, I wish that when the guy got up and took the 20 years, the 20, the 20, and the 24, you know, I said to Sydney, I said, I intend to get that. I intend to get that 20 years. And it's like, you know, when I was 3 years sober, and I didn't know whether I was coming or going, and Cubby told me that I had to make a pact. And I had to then, as a completely sober person without alcohol and drugs, I had to decide to stay sober one day at a time for the rest of my life. And from that place and from that choice, everything would come. It would be natural that when someone came near me and they had booze or dope on them, that I would know what to do. It would be natural that if someone came near me and they needed help in 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, that I would know what to do. It would be natural that one decision would support recovery and one wouldn't, and I would be able to make choices based on that pact. And then to not make that pact, I would just fly about in the ether year after year, just wondering and kind of going crazy. And you know, there are some things that have occurred for me that I just get that are true. And, you know, we're heir to the laws of whichever world we believe in. If I believe the world is horrible and people are hateful, then that's what I get. And if I believe that the world is good and the world is safe, and that people are doing the best that they can, and no one's working or living or hating at me, no one's doing anything at me. You know, it's less dramatic and it's not as exciting, whatever that word means, in that way. But it's a hell of a lot more peaceful. And it's really... you know, normally when I speak, there's always such a focus on newcomers. And I actually... You know, my heart is with the people who took the 20 years because I have no idea, you know, how much you had to change within yourself to get that 20-year cake. I can only imagine from standing here with 13 and a half years, the amount that I've had to let go of all of my shit, of all of my control, of all of my fear, of all of my safety, the amount that I had to drop off at the door just to come in here tonight and really not care what you think. And not in a way that I don't wish to carry a message, but in a way that I just don't have the rah-rah. What I wish is to offer a clear and sane example of Alcoholics Anonymous. And, you know, this illusion about bells and whistles is like, you know, the thing, you're not going to get anything here. You're not going to get some great life. You're not going to get some car or zip code. You're not going to get a him or a her. You're not going to get that shit. You would get that out on the road, however, just the same. The only thing that's offered here is that you may return to your highest self. That's what's offered. And that, at some point, has to become enough. And so for me, I had to sit down and I had to go down a list of everything that I thought I wanted. And one by one, I had to sit and address, who am I with or without this thing? Who am I with or without this job? Who am I with or without a person, a marriage, children, family, whatever? Who am I with or without this amount of money in the bank? Who am I with or without that zip code? Who am I with or without this body or this health or these clothes or these shoes or whatever else? Who am I with or without your approval? Who am I with or without your validation? And one by one, you know, it was really disturbing to find out how much I had attached to what the outsides would bring me, and how much my happiness was based on externals, and why I was such a leaf-blowing idiot. Why, so if he came or showed up or not, or called or not, of course I was a bag on the floor, a bumbling mess. Of course if that job didn't go through and I didn't get what I wanted, I was like a piece of you know, I had all these ideas about what I was, and I couldn't function, and I couldn't cope. And when I went out into the world, I couldn't look people in the eye and ask them how they were doing because I didn't get this thing that I wanted. You know, and if I didn't have a certain amount of money in the bank, then so what? Like, so how the hell did that money in the bank become the thing that made me nice or not to you? How did it become that if I have something, then I get to be kind to you? I have no idea where that went down. There are so many things that are going on for me now where I feel like I didn't sign up for that. I never agreed that certain things that people tell me are a factor that should stop me from going after what I desire in life, that I should stop because I don't fit a mold, or I should stop because I don't have the thing that starts that decision or choice, I have no idea where some of the things were decided. I know that I didn't vote on them, so I'm not going to live by them. I know that it's possible in recovery to absolutely show up for something in a way that I am able now to give back in much larger than what I'm ever going to give. And I want to close by saying that, you know, this thing that I'm about to go do, it's for a month. And I'm really going to get my ass beat, and I'm really going to find out what I'm made of. And I don't get to have a drink in the middle just because I decided before that I'm not going to have a drink. But, you know, I know that I'm going to want a drink in the middle. And what's interesting is I chose this thing for love because it's the thing that I love. And the day that I handed in my shit for the deadline, the next day I got a phone call for a ridiculous amount of money to do a job that that would work in New York, and I would live there, and it's long term, and it's high profile, and it's ridiculous. It's like, it's really ridiculous what was offered. And I had to sit, and within 2 seconds, I just said, no, I'm sticking with this other thing where, you know, I'm not getting paid. I'm going just for my personal experience and the foundation of what will add to my life for the next 20 years of my career. And it was the same thing as in AA. There are moments in Alcoholics Anonymous in the beginning of my recovery where I could have taken a shortcut because my short-term needs and my short-term fear, I was so frightened by what was going to happen. I made choices, or could have made choices that would have been the answer right at that second. But the long term was just such a sellout. It was such a, I don't even want to say that. It was such a cop-out. And it was such Victoria's will. It was not at all, you know, I have had in my recovery a chance for every single thing that I thought, you know, the thing that it has come down to for me is that I have, in recovery, left one little area where I would not give to God. And last year when I thought that I was going crazy, and a few of you probably saw me in that craziness, it was because I was breaking that. And that has been the most challenging thing for me. And my wish for you is that you surround yourself with really solid people when you get to that door. You will get to that door. There's no escaping it. We get on and off the elevator in different floors, but if you're here and you think that you're not going to come to the place where you finally, once and for all, have to decide, do you believe in a power greater than yourself, or are you running on self-will? You could take 20 years to do it, you could take 20 minutes. You will get to that door. My wish for you when you get there is that you have laid a foundation so that you do not take a rope and jump off a chair because the noises are too loud and you don't believe that you have enough worth to call someone and say, you know what, I'm coming apart at the seams. And I don't really believe in God. And I have 10 years of recovery, and I'm not certain that I am seen by God, let alone that my life is led. I'm not sure I'm counted. And you'll know in that moment, hopefully by the people that you chose to surround yourself with, that you will not be judged, and that it's just alcoholism, and that you're not alone, and that part of this whole deal is that people have gone before you, and part of this whole deal is that when the person comes behind you, by having worked through that, you're going to be able to put out your hand and sit beside someone without saying a word, and they're going to know that you know. And that's what I have to offer in AA, is just that I sit beside people in quiet. I don't have anything fancy to say, and they know by my actions and by the way that I sit that they're not alone. That's the biggest and greatest thing that I can offer. Then that's it, and that's all. And thank you for letting me come out.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.